Okay, so I'm going to talk about percent within limits. Percent within limits is an estimate of the percentage of the population lot that is within specification limits determined by using the mean and standard deviation of the lot. A PWL spec encourages contractors to produce a uniform quality product, and it offers rewards or penalties depending on the quality of the work produced. NDDOT's current density spec is based on an average of the paving lot, meaning that the contractor can receive full payment for meeting density when many of the cores could potentially fall below the desired target value. With PWL, any outliers high or low will result in a penalty. And with one nice thing about PWL is there's roughly 1/3 of the coring. So normally you take a core every 1,000 feet, and with PWL, it's depending on your thickness at 2 inches, it's about one core every 3,000 feet. This is the SP that I had on a job this past summer. So one lot is equal to 2,700 tons or 1 day's production. We want to have 5 cores minimum for a lot, so at least 2,250 ton. A sublot is 900 tons of material. You're getting 2 cores per sublot, so 1 core per 450 ton. So you might have an instance where one day you might have lower tonnage, and if that happens, you're going to need to combine 2 days of paving for your PWL lot. And I'll go over that here in a little bit, how to do that. In the PWL, the density is like your regular density. You need to have your mainline tons and your shoulder tons separated, unless your SP designates otherwise. So this goes over your cores are taken in the 12-foot driving lane. So what you need to do to figure out your sublots is you need to figure out how far you can pave with that 450 ton. So this just kind of goes over a calculation. If you have a 2-inch lift, you're going to take your 450 ton divided by it's 2 tons per cubic yard, and then times your 27 cubic feet per cubic yard, divided by your width, which is 12 feet, and divided by your depth, and it comes out to about 3,038 feet per core. This is just more of the SP. This is going over your average lot density. The density of a lot will be determined using the recorded average densities of the sublots contained within the lot. The recorded average densities of the sublots will be totaled and divided by the number of sublots within the lot to obtain the average density of the pavement. If the average density is at or below 88% of the average maximum theoretical density, remove and replace the pavement. For the percent within limits density, this metric is used to determine the overall quality of the pavement density and is used to calculate the compaction PWL pay factor. For each lot of material, the engineer will determine the percent within limits for HMA in place density. And there is an appendix within the SP that shows how to calculate the PWL. And it looks like this. It's kind of self-explanatory, I guess. You need to calculate the mean of the test values, and you need to calculate the standard deviation. And then from there, you calculate the upper quality limit and then the lower quality limits. Determine your PU and PL values and using the QU, QL, and N for the lot using table 1. And then you determine your quality level and your PWL pay factor. So this kind of goes over how to calculate your mean for the test values. Here you see we have a mean of 95.1. And this is how to calculate your standard deviation. And honestly, I mean, you don't have to do this by hand because obviously the workbook will do that for you. So there's some more information on how to calculate the upper quality limits and lower quality limits. And here's the table that they were talking about that you need to use to determine your PU and PL values. And that shows how to use a table there. You're going to use we had an N of 21, so use this column. 1.67 is your QU, and your QL is 2.73. 99.5 for your lower limit, and your upper is 95.7. And there it shows, once you get through that, There's your bell curve, and your PWL pay factor is 102.6. So this part will go over the workbook and how to make sure you're like to combine two days of paving for a PWL workbook. You're going to want to make sure on your special provisions selection on your summary page, make sure to select PWL. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems. So this was from my project this summer. I had a day lot 4 where I only had 1,305 tons. So this is an example of where you'd need to combine those two workbooks to make one full lot. But keep in mind when you have that happen, you still need to have your cutoff report. You need to have your separate cutoff reports for each day to pay for your oil for that day. And you also need to keep them separate for your longitudinal cores. You're gonna have your lot 4 workbook, your lot 3 workbook, and then you're gonna combine those into one and have your PWL workbook. So this is the combined. As you can see, I'm taking the numbers from the pay quantity for both days, adding them together. You're gonna have your haul sheet totals added together and your waste added together. And I broke it down here as well to show the numbers and where I got them from, just for clarification. Also, the other thing you'll need to do is, because you're using mixed results from both days to calculate those PWL paid density factors, you're going to need combine the QC results for the mixed data for both days into one workbook, as it'll average those out and calculate the core densities. Like I said, you need to keep your separate workbooks for your longitudinal joints for each day based on the length of paving for that day. And this just shows all of the cores in one worksheet for both days. And this is the pay factor, the payment adjustment for the PWL with the combined workbook. As you can see, I think it was like 6,000. I can't remember the total, but you're gonna need to make sure you have the correct tonnage in here, so you're calculating on the mainline density tons and not any of the ordinary compaction.